Euromaxx highlights. Coming up on the show, Imagined Worlds, photographer Frank Kunert and his models of reality. Ruhr Pilgrimage, a spiritual tour of Germany's former industrial heartland. Grunge comeback. The early 90s grunge look returns in an upmarket version. Euromaxx highlights. And here's your host, Robin Merrill.
Hello and a warm welcome to the show. We begin with a dream for everybody who's had a bad flying experience. British design company Seymour Powell want to build a futuristic airship which is environmentally friendly and will take luxury air travel back to a bygone era and into the future all at the same time.
It's both an airship and a gigantic flying hotel in one, the AirCruise. Despite its colossal dimensions, 265 metres high and weighing 378 tonnes, it's more mobile than it looks. It should be, at least so far, as it only exists as a computer-generated animation, one that its designers hope will become reality in the near future.
There was a time when lighter-than-air aircraft, so the glory days of the Zeppelins, was a very romantic idea, and I think that idea still exists in people's minds. So the thought really came from how we could reinterpret that method of travel, but for the 21st century.
The flying palatial hotel was the brainchild of London-based designer Nick Talbot. He's fascinated by the high-altitude experience, a prime example being the London Eye, the British capital's newest landmark. But instead of taking people in circles, the AirCruise will transport passengers from Europe to other continents. The AirCruise will also be environmentally friendly, running on hydrogen and solar power. It will have a cruising altitude of 4,000 metres, but can drop, as desired, to just a few hundred metres above ground, in order to give passengers a closer look at the local sights. Nick Talbot is one of the directors at renowned design consultancy Seymour Powell. The company was created in 1984 and rapidly went on to earn awards for its cutting-edge innovations. The cordless kettle, for example, and the first fuel cell-powered motorbike. Seymour Powell also came up with the interior design for Virgin Galactic, a commercial spaceship that will soon be taking paying passengers into outer space.
We talk a lot here about optimistic futurism. We think it's a responsibility of creative people to think way ahead of the curve, to consider what could be rather than what should be.
The flying hotel is likewise set to boast a grand interior. It will incorporate a number of apartments, a penthouse and a bar to be an exclusive home away from home for less than 100 lucky guests. The prospective billion-dollar project has yet to have investors flocking to it. But Nick Talbot is very optimistic.
It's the combination of space and comfort and luxury, the combination of those two things that would lead to we think some very beautiful experiences. So sipping your cocktail while you're watching the whales travelling across the Pacific or dropping down at sunset over the Serengeti. But at the same time, rather than being in a little confined space, we have all this beautiful environment to enjoy it from.
Nick Talbot knows it's no pie in the sky. The designer plans to work as long as it takes to find an investor. And if the project takes off, he'll be among the first ones on board.
From computerized models to the ones created by German photographer Frank Kunert. He spends months creating meticulous models of everyday scenes and then takes pictures of them. But they aren't quite what they seem. The reason for this will become apparent in a minute, but he's definitely got a sense of humour and likes to twist reality a bit. He let us watch him at work in his studio.
A house of the sort you might see anywhere in the suburbs. Nothing special, if it weren't for its unusual roof. And do the subjects of these photographs really exist? Welcome to Frank Kunert's miniature world. This artist from Frankfurt has been building models in his studio for about 10 years. At first glance, they're everyday scenes, but a closer look reveals much more.
As a child, I liked handicrafts and photography. Then I trained as a photographer. But I noticed that what interests me most was staging scenes in my studio and creating something with my hands that told a story.
It often takes several months for him to finish a model. After all, every detail has to be just right. Like the color of the plaster or the glass in the windows made from old cheese wrappers. Kunert is secretive when he's creating his works.
That's because when I'm building them, I don't want to be influenced, and I want to seal myself off and concentrate on my work. And any reaction to the model I'm working on would unsettle or disturb me. So it's important to be able to work in peace and quiet.
Not even his girlfriend is allowed to know what he's working on, even though the model is just the means to an end. The final photograph is the artwork. And Kunert often takes days to take it. He uses an analog camera nearly 20 years old. He wouldn't consider reworking his pictures. Everything in his small worlds is to be as close to reality as possible. One object makes frequent reappearances in his work: the high diving board.
Diving boards have to do with taking risks and letting go, and I'm interested in those themes.
Frank Kunert himself sometimes acts like a voyeur. For instance, when he's underway in his home district of Höchst in Frankfurt. There are no diving boards here, but plenty of other treasures. 46-year-old Kunert isn't looking for beautiful buildings, picturesque facades, or inviting squares. He's much more interested in the damaged and dilapidated, in contrasts.
I take what I see in my surroundings, much of it in the buildings I notice when walking near my studio, and I combine it with impressions or ideas that occur to me, developing stories about them in my imagination.
That's how his view of the world emerges. Perhaps a particular building or signpost will inspire his next model. Scaled down to a 20th of its original size. Frank Kunert's world of models may be small, but it offers almost limitless possibilities.
They're great. Germany's former industrial heartland, the Ruhr region, has reinvented itself as a cultural heartland with so much success that this year it is a European capital of culture. One way to explore it is on foot with an old-fashioned pilgrimage, and a new guide recommends 2 river routes. Our reporter Matthias Stamm took a walk on the Ruhr side.
The Ruhr Valley usually conjures up images of smoking chimneys and factories. Germany's longest river, the Rhine, flows through the valley. Our Euromaxx reporter is walking along the river Emscher, a tributary of the Rhine that has been regulated and now flows right through the region.
It sounds absurd. Pilgrim routes in the Ruhr Valley, an area shaped by heavy industry that is not known for its beautiful countryside. The routes start right here and run right through the whole Ruhr Valley, and they are a great way to discover the beauty of this region by foot and at your own speed.
Our reporter's first goal is on the southern pilgrim route. The city of Duisburg is 40 kilometers from where the Emscher flows into the Rhine. Salvador Church is one of the 24 houses of worship along the route. It dates back to the 14th century and is one of the most important Gothic churches in the Ruhr Valley. One of the church's most outstanding features is the stained glass windows. The original ones were destroyed in World War II and gradually replaced afterwards. Our reporter meets Father Peter Krogel, one of the first people to become interested in the region's pilgrim routes.
There are wonderful churches and monasteries in this area, and it's worth it to follow a pilgrimage route in the Ruhr Valley and explore them. You don't have to travel to Santiago de Compostela to take part in a pilgrimage. You can do it right here. I think that's great.
Our reporter leaves the church for his next port of call, 30 kilometers further east along the southern route, in the heart of the Ruhr Valley, the city of Essen. This is where you find the Zollverein Colliery. Formerly one of the largest coal mines in Europe, it's now a UNESCO World Heritage Site and a Ruhr Valley landmark. Up to 8,000 miners used to work here. Nowadays, the disused colliery is a tourist attraction where you can explore the industrial past of the region firsthand. Now, the site is a design and cultural center where events are staged on an almost daily basis. But to start with, some people didn't like the idea of the old mine becoming an art center.
Working here below ground wasn't a pleasant job. 1,000 meters below the surface in 35 degrees Celsius in high humidity. Once you've been through that, it's something you don't want to relive. The miners said, "What, you want this to be a cultural center? Tear it down or build houses on the site. I never want to see it again." It took a long time for opinions to change. Now it's a symbol of structural change and culture in the Ruhr Valley region.
The next and final stop on the northern route is near the city of Bottrop, home to some 120,000 residents. You can clearly see the traces industry has left behind in the region, such as slag heaps left over from the mining era. The so-called tetraeder can be seen from a long distance. The 50-meter-high structure is both an artwork and observation tower. Fortunately, our reporter doesn't suffer from vertigo and climbs the 400 steps. 200 tons of steel were used here. And those who've reached the top can enjoy an unforgettable panorama of the valley.
The pilgrim routes are a great way to discover the Ruhr Valley and its industrial heritage. And there is no better year for a visit in the Ruhr Valley than this year, because the region is European capital of culture. Therefore, many cultural events take place, and tourists can easily combine hiking on the pilgrim routes and enjoying great culture, and so get 2 vacations in one.
Following a pilgrim's path in the Ruhr Valley is an exciting way to explore Germany's most densely populated region.
To the Spanish island of Mallorca, which is sometimes jokingly referred to as Germany's 17th state, as so many Germans either settle there or buy a second home on the island. One of them is property developer Ando Schirmer, and he's invited us in to take a look at his dream villa, which is full of modern art.
This villa on Mallorca is only inhabited for a few months a year. It's the holiday home of the Schirmer family from Germany. Only a few minutes by car from the Mediterranean.
Welcome to our family home. Please come in.
The first thing that catches the eye is this iron sculpture. It dominates the patio, the entrance area.
The sculpture gives the first indication you're entering a house with a strong connection to art.
Art sets the tone in the extended living room. When the family designed this space, they did so with their collection in mind. This bronze piece by year.Dream is one of their recent acquisitions.
We planned the room here with a generous amount of space. No partitions, no big corners. We chose to keep the wall free of irritating elements like switches, sockets, or cables. And we didn't attach any lights. We also chose to build the house almost completely on one story with lots of windows. All the windows reach the ground. For 3/4 of a year, the windows are open. We can open them up, and we have a very close connection between outside and inside. In principle, we're trying to draw nature into the house.
The living room leads directly into the library. The dark wooden tones contrast with the bright sunlight outside. It's a place of refuge. The connecting hall acts as a background for a single object, a 400-year-old Japanese geisha cushion. This red corridor leads to the family's private rooms. The bathroom walls and floor are painted using a special Arab palette knife style, which creates a unified structure. The villa has 700 square meters of living space, although the family is outside most of the time. Or in the kitchen, the heart of the house. That has a wooden sculpture by German sculptor Stefan Balkenhol and a print by Pablo Picasso.
We spend a lot of time in the kitchen. It's where we communicate with each other, where we talk to each other. We want to shape it so we can be inspired by art.
The conversation can then continue outside on the generous terrace or by the pool. There's enough space here to relax and recharge all year long.
Now, fashions are sometimes said to run in cycles of around 20 years, which means we are just about ready for the return of the grunge look. In the early 90s, cool people wore oversized T-shirts, baggy torn jeans and generally liked to dress down. Well, guess what? Looks like grunge really is back, but this time an upmarket version.
Grunge in the year 2010, reinvented by designers like Wolfgang Job and Roberto Cavalli, and also by the label founded by actress Sienna Miller, and by fashion retailer C&A. Stylist and fashion expert Stefan Lindemann has worked for lifestyle magazines such as InStyle, GQ and Elle for more than 10 years. And he says grunge is set to be one of this spring's must-have looks.
The grunge look is a major trend not only on the catwalk but also among celebrities. The slouchy look that's actually very carefully put together. The new grunge look is a lot more stylish and includes a lot more accessories.
British supermodels Kate Moss, Agnes Dean, and pop star Rihanna were showing how to wear the new grunge back in 2009 and how to accessorize it. A few basic items belong to the grunge wardrobe.
Ripped jeans are crucial. Then we need a 1980s leather jacket and also a plaid shirt, a lumberjack shirt. The colors don't really matter.
But what is different this time is the classic Doc Martens have been replaced by high heels, and pilot shades and a printed T-shirt are indispensable.
It's a very youthful look. There's no way around it because not everyone can wear shorts. But ripped jeans are also an option. That works for everyone, and they look fantastic.
Originally, grunge was about music rather than fashion. Bands like Nirvana pioneered the sound, wearing clothes that were meant to come across as anti-fashion. But what started out as a rebellion was soon embraced by supermodels and teenagers around the world.
In the 1990s, grunge was a way of life. Originally, grunge was a musical direction, but at some point it stopped having anything to do with music. The look has been taken out of its context and now turned into a glamour grunge. That's prettier, more attractive, and also more expensive.
Roberto Cavalli recently unveiled a grunge collection that featured pricey fabrics and reinvented the once disheveled look as classy, artfully rumpled chic, also known as glunge.
This is what's called glamour grunge. That means it's grungy, but with a bit of va-va-voom, a bit more glitz and glamour. We've got leather leggings, sequined vests, or you can wear a waistcoat. It's a going-out look the way Kate Moss does it, a red carpet look.
And not necessarily one for every day. But tone it down a bit, and it could be.
This is a different version of the grunge look, a different color for those who aren't so keen on black or who are a bit older. You can take the same elements we saw with the other look, the leather jacket, the layering, the ripped jeans, the beige boots instead of black Doc Martens.
Whether it's sexy, glamorous, or casual, grunge has definitely made a comeback. But it's grown up a bit. And grunge a la 21st century features plenty of bling.
It's a look that's here to stay. It'll be one that lasts.
And the best thing about it is that there are no hard and fast rules. So that rebellious 1990s spirit hasn't been completely banished.
Finally, some modern jazz, although this new album by German double bass player Dieter Ilg is based on the opera Othello by Giuseppe Verdi. It's the latest record by a talented musician who loves to experiment and stretch the boundaries of string bass playing.
Dieter Ilg, not many people can play a double bass the way he can. The veteran jazz musician has developed a technique all his own.
This is a typical double bass bow. When you bow with it, it sounds like this.
Das gestrichene Instrument klingt so.
And what I do differently is put aside the bow and actually pluck the strings.
Und direkt an der Seite dran bin. Dann können jetzt manche Kinder sagen, aber das ist
Children have said to me, but this is a bow instrument, and I say yes, but I prefer to pluck it. And they usually get it.
Kommt meistens ein Ah.
Othello is the name of his latest project, which just premiered in Braunschweig. It's a jazzed-up version of Giuseppe Verdi's famous opera. Tonight, for once, Dieter Ilg is in the spotlight. Usually, the 48-year-old musician prefers to remain in the wings.
What I tend to do is lay out the carpet for someone else, as it were. I set the stage for them and play my double bass in the background. And they know they can depend on me. But with my own project, I have an opportunity to put my own instrument center stage.
He's worked with such stars as bass baritone Thomas Quasthoff and trumpet player Till Brunner.
Having someone like Dieter Ilg playing double bass in your band means having the freedom to try out things you might otherwise avoid out of fear that your rhythm section isn't strong enough. And that's the best feeling. It's a privilege that musicians don't want to let go of once they've had it.
In Braunschweig, the audience doesn't seem to want to let go of Dieter Ilg either.
It was super, as you can hear. Everything worked perfectly. It was great fun. Now we're going to play an encore. It'll be great.
Dieter Ilg is visibly enjoying the limelight and proving that the double bass has every right to be center stage.
Incidentally, if you'd like to see more reports from Euromaxx, go to YouTube, type in Deutsche Welle English, and the choice is yours. That's it for now, though, so bye-bye.